Is this committee that's 4 o'clock Central Daylight Time. The only thing on the agenda that we have today is final review of the ambulance service agreement, and we're going to go back through this contract. I have from Jennifer some legal opinions on this, and there are a couple of edits that she suggested, and we'll discuss those. They look to be very, very, very minor. Some of them grammatical changes that are obvious that a lot of us just missed as we were typing this out, which tends to happen on things like this. So we'll go through what suggestions she's made with this, and then we could discuss it and make those changes. I can send the final version of this down to Keith and have him reprint, but the vast majority of this does not change. So does anybody, before we get started on this, anybody have any questions, comments, concerns, complaints, tips? What's a tip?
Don't get a question.
Go ahead.
Which page is on? The 13,000 something on the Article 7, the provided the monthly sum of 18,375, which comes to the 220,500.
Right.
Did I dream, or is that, because I thought this stays the same for the 5 years?
It does. It does stay the same for the 5 years. After 5 years, there's a clause in there, if we renew it,
Okay.
then that price would go up, because obviously we would have to index that to inflation, because the dollars
So that 5%, your thing is not right.
Right, it's not here. It'd be 5%. It'd be
but
5% after 5 years.
I just thought I might be missing something. So-
No, it's after 5 years. So
Okay.
really, the whole encouragement of that is to redo a contract at the end of that 5-year period. If you remember this last one, we extended that for 2 years on 1-year option renewals at the same 5%, because we were in a place where we didn't know what we were doing with the hospital. Well, now we know, and in 5 years, presumably 5 years, we won't have that same argument again.
Okay.
Make sense?
That's it.
Good question, though. See, I like you. You're full of good stuff. All right, so I'm going to go over the edits that Jennifer suggested that we do, and like I said, they're mostly grammatical in nature, and then I'll change those on the master contract, and then I will send that back out. I'll put that back on the file server, and then go down and get a physical copy printed for everyone on that. So the first edit she suggested to us was in section 4.5. And then it says the event to determine the provider, yada, yada, yada. If you notice on there, section 4.2, and Jennifer replied, shouldn't that be 4.3 on there? And that's due to the just changing how we added some terms in there, and we just didn't bother to change the paragraph, but there was a different section added ahead of it, which changed the reference section.
No, where it's the first thing where 4.2 is crossed out. I think the 4.3 is correct. She was commenting on the next line that talks about section 4.5. She's saying that should read 4.4.
Okay.
Oh, under the 4 point. Where it says 4.3, it should say 4.4.
No.
No.
Right.
Like
Here
where it's
should be
highlighted,
4.
that's where
okay.
her comment goes.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be.
So where it says section 4.5, she's saying it should be
So here-
4.4.
This
Okay.
should be 4.4, so 4.5. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I changed the red as well back to the 4.3 because that's what it should be.
Right.
And we want to say back in section 4.5 is actually 4.4. Flip back over.
In the text, not the actual paragraph 4.5, right?
Well, okay, so the event, 4.5 reads, in the event it is determined the provider has failed for the first time in a contract year to meet the response standard set forth here and is determined in accordance with section 4.3 and is adjusted in light of section 4.4 as applicable, county shall provide written notice of such failure to provide. That's what we've changed it to do.
And she's suggesting that we should, I mean, this was, I think, brought up before, there's no cure period. So she's saying add a time frame, like,
Yeah, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves, Linda.
it's the next line.
I understand that, but I'm trying to finish what we're doing here, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm trying to think faster.
Shit, I know about thinking.
But
She said type faster.
hush. I don't need any snide remarks out of the peanut gallery.
But it's fun.
No. Okay, so the next thing, do we need a time frame? Written response within 30 or 60 days, for example. I would agree with that.
30 is usually conventional.
30 is what we're going to go with. And that needs to be written plan within 30 days. So we will change that to say within 30 days
Shouldn't it be written plan of cure?
of cure within 30 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, within 30 days. Written plan of cure within 30 days to correct such deficiency. Okay. And then we need to add also in section 4.5 subsection B, one-time monthly penalty in the amount of $3,000 per occurrence. So in other words, we're not going to do this just once. We're going to do this multiple times if they continue to screw up multiply. Okay. All right, let's move on to the next one down here. As I'm trying to correct this as we go on the fly. All right, so moving on. Let's see what else I got down here. Okay, so under Article 13. So this is all the way down on page, I think, 8. Yeah, page 8. So under 13, she says, she highlighted unenforceable. It says, do you think we should add a sentence that in the event any provision or provisions of this agreement are declared inoperative or invalid by any court, then the remaining provisions of this agreement shall remain unaffected and hereby shall be fully enforced? Yes, I agree with that because that's the wording we should put in there with legalese. So invalid or unenforceable, or that in the event. So where would we add that in?
I think you just add the sentence, like a new sentence after what's already there.
Yeah,
Right, what she has.
that's probably I'm just going to copy and paste that. Actually, we can create a whole subsection to that. Just add it to the end.
Yeah, 'cause then it flows.
Put your punctuation.
Where's that grammar expert today?
That's not grammar, that's punctuation, that's a different line item.
All right, I get it. Let's move on. All right, so, on page 9, 14.3. Her comments was, this seems a little out of place as there is no real remedy. Shouldn't go in Article 4 section or the whereas. It seems more of a statement rather than a part of an enforceable contract. Just a thought. Or add a sentence that states that provider's failure to meet the level of performance is shown in Exhibit B as determined by the court shall be considered a material breach under Article 2.
You could just add that sentence. Where she suggests or add a sentence, we just add that sentence to it. That,
Okay.
That's the easiest fix.
All right, we'll just put that after,
Where you putting that to?
I'm gonna put that at the end of 14.3 where it says see Exhibit B. They're gonna add a period, and then we're gonna add that sentence. So what it's gonna do is that's now gonna read, let me go back over to the, okay, so that entire paragraph, 14.3, is now gonna read, the most important aspect of this contract is that the resulting agreement will be performance-based. Penalties in the form of response damages will be assessed for failures to achieve minimum standards set forth in the agreement. The provider's services require the highest levels of performance and reliability, comma, and the mere demonstration of, that doesn't sound right. No, it doesn't even come into
They're
that.
referring to a level of effort contract versus a performance-based.
You can almost say, that whole 14.3 is more of a mission statement. And that question.
Well, we can change that to say the most important mission of this contract.
Right, but one thing, think about that paragraph.
Yeah.
It almost fits under Article 1,
Mm-hmm.
because this is what we're actually asking to be done.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Because it's physically for the mission of their service account. That's a thought.
Okay, and then we can just change 14.3 to read provider's failure to meet the level of performance. Okay, so we move that up to the articles under Article 1. That makes sense. And I got space to do it, so it's 1.3. All right, so we're going to change that. We're going to make it Article 1.3, and we're going to move that up there. And then 14.3 is simply going to read provider's failure to meet the level of performance and shown in Exhibit B. So I'm going to add this to Article 1. I'm going to add an Article 1.3 to that. And it just says under now 1.3, the most important aspect of this contract, or the, well, should we say mission? Should we say the most important mission or aspect, or?
Leave it as it is.
Okay.
It's more of a statement of what Article 1 is.
Yep, all right, that makes total sense. So I took that, I put the most important aspect of this contract as a resulting agreement will be performance-based. Penalties in the form of response damages will be assessed for failures to achieve minimum standards as set forth in the agreement. The provider's services require the highest standards of performance and reliability, and the mere demonstration of, I still think that should say more than the mere demonstration of effort. Wouldn't you? Because and the mere demonstration of effort is making it sound like, okay, as long as you're demonstrating effort, we're going to leave you alone.
Or just take out there. Think about it, just take it there.
Yeah,
And the demonstration of effort.
because they're being specific that it's not level of effort.
Because mere
Right.
needs minimal amount.
Right, exactly.
So,
Okay, that just, to me, that just didn't sound right. Okay, so performance and reliability, comma, and the demonstration of effort, even diligent and well-intentioned effort shall not, see, that doesn't flow. That, I think that whole thing should just come out of here. So in other words, I think what it should do is the provider's services require the highest levels of performance and reliability, comma, even diligent and well-intentioned effort shall not substitute for the performance results. See Exhibit B.
I think it needs to stay in there.
It doesn't sound like it's,
What they're trying to say, I mean, maybe the wording can be buffed up a little bit, but they're trying to emphasize that it's not a level of effort contract, that it's performance-based contract.
Right, but what that's saying to me it's contradicting each other. The provider's services require the highest levels of performance and reliability, comma, and the demonstration of effort, comma, even diligent and well-intentioned effort shall not substitute for performance results. It sounds like you're doing two different things. You know, the demonstration of effort is one thing, but you're countering that saying, it sounds like the demonstration of effort is part of this, but you're saying going right after that, saying even diligent and well-intentioned effort
No.
shall not.
No, they're saying that it requires the highest level of performance and reliability. That's really what you're after. That's in some of these sections where we gave them response times and all those kind of metrics, which they responded to. This is saying that you can demonstrate effort, even if it's diligent and well-intentioned, but it does not substitute for meeting the performance requirements.
Well, I'm not saying delete the even diligent, well-intentioned effort. I'm just saying and the demonstration of effort. That 5 or 6 word or 5 word section there. It just seems like we're either redundant or it doesn't flow.
So.
So take out even diligent and well-intentioned.
No, leave that. So what I think it should read, it says, what I think it should read, the provider's services require the highest levels of performance and reliability. Even diligent and well-intentioned effort shall not substitute for performance results. If we just get rid of and the demonstration of effort and the mere demonstration of effort the way it was before, I think that 5 or 6 word piece should just go away. Yep, I'm in agreement with that. I think we should just get rid of that.
I think Exhibit B truly is performance.
Right, exactly. That makes sense because it doesn't sound right. It didn't read right, didn't sound right when you had that because it was either doing it twice or it was making one higher than the other, so we took that out. Okay. All right, let's go back down. What else did Jennifer have to say on this? I think we may be at the end of it. I don't see anything else on it that she suggested, do you?
That's it. It's a wrap. I move that we recommend to the commission that we accept this contract with the changes that we just added.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so I'll print this out. I will put that on the file server for everybody's viewing pleasure, but I'll also I'll get Keith to run copies for everybody in here. Those were very, very minor and grammatical changes today. I think we got through. I'd like to express my appreciation to everybody on this committee who came together to work hard on this. It was a fun endeavor, and I think we will end up with a great contract with our ambulance service provider that will carry us all the way into 2031. Does anybody else have any business they want to bring before the Emergency Services Committee? If not, I'll.
Tower, which we have in a resolution on the amended agenda, I mean, that was originally, I guess, in this committee, it was an effort through this committee. I guess it's finally reality, and I just want to
Okay.
thank all those involved, especially you, Brian.
Go ahead.
I think it'll be a huge safety improvement.
Yeah. Just thinking. That's like I told you today, it's took 4 years to get to where we are right now with the state on this one.
Yeah, I appreciate
And it's
it.
also saved this county $4 million if you look at both towers.
And that's the second tower is
Cable.
Yeah, that's the one I'm dealing with up there. So do we want to make any type of a recommendation that we add our recommendation to approve that
I
contract
think it's gonna go through budget.
budget?
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
You know, they seem to be a debate over the highway. If that's been resolved or what's been said about that?
We own the property. What right of way are
I
we
mean,
talking
what's
about?
going to the property across the, where the gate's at, or supposed gate?
So the state done their due diligence on that, and there is no issues with it. If there had been an issue with it, they would have ceased and desisted because they already done it once.
Okay, I just want to know if it's before we get too far along.
And it's no money to us, it's the state, but they done their due diligence before they approved that location.
Okay, any other things that need to be brought up before the committee?
Except there's one outline,
Sure,
if you don't mind.
sure, go ahead.
I've been talking to Keith about this, and Wayne's very familiar with it as well. I've asked Keith to earmark some money in the fire department line item to possibly, for us to look at buying in a complete data management system that all fire departments and rescue squad can use. As we all know, ISO ratings are, and the ISO inspections now are based on data,
Mm-hmm.
and they're wanting data rather than paperwork. And with the data and what we have to do as a state now, there's some really good systems out there that would help every fire department and rescue squad manage a whole lot better. Our chief Lono has bought it for our department, and the results have been staggering. What it does and helps, especially for ISO preparedness
Mm-hmm.
and for the ability to run reports when we need to run reports quickly through queries.
Okay.
Countywide, we're talking about $18,000 to $20,000 expenditure to give everyone in the county access to it and be fully funded by the commission. It's something that Keith could easily run reports on, any department, if they run their own reports. And so I've talked to Keith, and Keith likes the idea conceptually. I want to bring it up here with this committee, because it would be an incredibly helpful tool that everybody can use, benefit everybody, period, at a very low cost countywide.
Makes a lot of sense, actually. I mean,
Jeff, it is tremendous.
we're talking 6 departments, $20,000, what, 3,000 a department or less.
Or less. The
So,
one that our chief Mitchell bought,
and that's an annual cost, I would assume, right?
and Mr. Mitchell was here. He can explain incredibly well if you would like.
Sure. We got some time.
Well, the company we went with, after looking, it's cost benefit, there's some better, more, I want to say that do more. Bells and whistles company, we went with the emergency networking. It's an RMS, records management
Right.
system, and a data management system for inventory, training records, certifications,
Mm-hmm.
Truck maintenance, and then also your records management for doing your NARIS reports. You can do it straight online, which probably some departments do. This gives you, it's a little bit fuller reporting than the straight going from NARIS website. But what it can do is I can tell you, you can, like for ISO, we'll be able to pull all our individual training records out, certification training, ISO accepted training, all of our truck maintenance. And then as they look at calls, it takes your nearest data and it automatically figures your response times and all of that they need. So it's a good system. It works well, especially for smaller departments. It works very well. It does, like, even if a department had scheduling, it does scheduling, it does messaging, it does several different things. It's a solid program. They've been around a few years. The folks that started the program actually worked for another company that got bought by another bigger company. Like I said, there's some other ones out there, but they're a lot more expensive. It's like when I was at Signal Mountain, what we used was about $14,000 a year for us.
Exactly. Well, the one question I have, and I like data-driven points like that, because it makes our discussions when we come to budget time, like we're gonna have tonight with fire departments, it makes justifying more money, which I would like to increase this year, makes that more palatable, or gives us more reason so as to do that. So the question I would have going forward, is it something that we would, if we implemented that, would we implement that as a requirement of the fire departments to use this in order to continue to receive donations from the county, or is it a step too far?
I think we need to give everybody access to it. Jeff, once you see it, and once you use it, and see the results,
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody will.
Sorry.
Makes their job so much easier.
I'm assuming y'all talked to all the chiefs and everybody's on board with this, or?
I know we've implemented ourselves, we've stepped up, our department's paid for it, and the results so far, Keith has already seen some of the reports, and it's stacked. And we're getting ready for ISO, and now with a couple of clicks of on the computer, Chief Mitchell will have every ISO report at his fingertips in minutes. And you're exactly right. I want to see the same data at budget time. And we want to go for that extra money from the department, so we have the data to support saying, yes, we need to do that.
But it also gives us data points to look for grants and everything else down the line. I would like to see us go that. It's gonna take a while to get that everybody on board, probably a year. You're not gonna flip a switch tomorrow and have this done. I'm almost to the thought point that the budget, when you do for the fire department, is just add a separate line item to that budget for this particular program to that. It won't be part of it because we're gonna pay for it as a county.
But it has to go under a contribution, because these guys they're 501c3s.
This will not be a contribution.
Then
This will be a
how
direct
how is it legally done? Because the only way we can make donations, since they're all 501c3s, right?
Same way as we pay IAR right now. It's a general contract. And so if it's not a donation, it's a system.
But that's what I'm saying. You're still taking taxpayer money and you're giving it, basically contributing it to a separate corporation's what it is, 501.
We'll give access to it, just like IAR. That is our paging system right now.
Yes.
Brian?
So the way the IAR works, emergency management pays for it and shares a link to each fire department, and they have their own branch off of IAR.
So I
But
guess
the county still owns the rights, and they're the licensee of that software, not the
that was my
individual
next question.
departments.
Yeah. Who
We're only
licenses
giving
it?
them user level access to this. They don't have access to
Correct.
reports. That the access to the reports is for the county's benefit. Therefore, when we pay for
No.
this, the county is reaping the benefit of
No,
that.
so the way I didn't do IAR, Winford did, but the way it is set up, each individual department has their own login, and they can go in and actually do reports, do scheduling.
Right,
Get
but
there.
but you're giving them user access. You're not giving them master access to that. That's
Correct,
That's the key
correct.
difference on this. Is the county maintains control of the system.
Correct.
Okay, it's a software system to benefit the county as a whole, not necessarily each individual fire department. But they are created as users, and the reason we do that is we do want the data from those users out there, and we want that to make. But the master license for that software still stands with the county.
And everybody has access to it.
And then everybody has access to it as user accounts. I mean, that makes total sense to do it that way. That way we can just add that to a line item in probably emergency, for emergency management, EMA. That would be probably the better way to do that.
So that means my budget.
Means your budget's gonna go up and your responsibilities are gonna go up. I think it's a good idea. Anything we can do to create more work for Brian, I'm in favor of.
One nice thing about the software, it's like every other software, it's like every other RMS or data management system. It's only as good as the effort you put into
Correct.
entering data. Like, we're still entering, we've gone back and entered several years of paper training records into it, hose test records. And, the eventual goal for us is to become as paperless as you can be.
Sure.
And plus, there's, this is all archived in the cloud, or the cloud is, but it's all archived in the cloud, and what Brian said is exactly right. So there'd be a contract with the county, and then there would be subgroups for each fire department. They would have their own section of that reporting system. So based on, whatever department it is, that's your information. Your nearest number would be separate, for each.
And when I put that information into that system, and we know we got NIFRS reports and things to make, would that system handle those reports? So in other words, we're not having to do this twice.
No, you don't do them twice. And so when you do a report, you go into the nearest reporting, you fill out the report, and then it submits it automatically.
Okay.
How much of a, thinking for the smaller fire departments, how much effort is it for them to, do the initial load up of the documentation and maintain it?
It's not that labor intensive. They assign it's like everything else, they assign you a rep. Our rep's based out of Foley, Alabama, and they work with you and put their IT group on it. And they'll, within a few emails, they ask you for information. And like to get set up on the reporting, it took them 5 minutes, to get it set up. And then they offer training too, the nice things, they do offer training. Or there's a training package. Okay, some of it's by feel and hit and miss.
Right.
But they do have a large knowledge-based application that you go into to answer most of your questions, but they do offer training also.
So the current reporting requirements, let's just take this software out of the equation for a second. The current reporting requirements, you still have to do NIFRS reports.
Not
for
NIFRS, not NIFRS, no more NIFRS.
There's,
NIRS. Okay, we still have to do a report every time we're dispatched for something, correct?
well, Tennessee law says you have to only do fire
Related.
structure reports, and they have to be filed within 10 days of the fire. Now, to me, personally, from a fire administrator, that's very narrow-minded because you're not getting a real good picture of actually what your fire department is doing. Like 60, I just ran our report for the up to first of the month, and we're 64.6% EMS calls. And then it breaks it down, call volume, in about 26 different ways. So whether it's a rubbish fire or a woods fire or a car wreck so it really gives you a good idea of actually what your department's doing, and where you're.
Right, because we do far more auto accidents than we do anything else, just with 111 being there. So does it also, it's not a financial software that would track budgetary items? So
It does have has a fuel tracker in it, so you can track which vehicle uses what fuel you get. And it does have some of that. We haven't really looked into that yet.
Right.
But
Because what I'm looking for, I mean, what you've brought up is a great thing. I'm looking for a one-stop shop. And what I'm looking for is something that if it's got some of those things to it, let's face it, most of these departments, and probably you're included up there too, is pretty much a basic budget. I mean, we're not going into huge detail with things. And what we're looking for is just to be able to do a basic budget to take that information as we spend money to track where we're at, how we've done for the year, and then when we come to July and time to do the reports for the state, we like to have that handy. I would like it to where I didn't have to go through and translate everything from one system to another.
yeah,
It would make my life simple. But I mean, I realize it's pie in the sky, and they're a reporting company, and they're not there. But for me, I think the 20,000 we would spend in a year on something like that, if we could use that data to return grants back to this, it would be invaluable. Especially if you're hiring grant writers and you're no longer having to pay extra fees for them to do research to be able to put all that in there. They have it, it's right there, they can fill in the blanks and send it through. These professionals know how to do this.
In 5 minutes, you query, and you have your data.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it makes a lot of sense, and I think really what you guys should do is just add that to, and through the budget process, just add that to the emergency service, emergency management, to their budget line item, and that way we can task Brian with managing it. I mean, like I said, I'm all for tasking Brian with managing anything. He's great at it.
well, the nice thing is that you up to the individual
gray hair
department,
pop up.
99.9% of it, so somebody's gonna get it. Data entry's the big thing.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of people working on different parts and pieces of that.
Well, I mean, true, you delegate that out. I mean, at the end of the day, all of us are volunteers for these things, and none of us are making any money doing anything off these departments. And I just know from my own experience, and for the very limited things that I do for the Cagle Fire Department, it's a lot of work. You compound that by 20 members or so, and they're all putting in more work than I am. Yeah, that's a lot. I think what I do is a lot. I think what they do is even more. So certainly I would be in favor of something like that. I think that's an excellent discussion, Tommy. I appreciate that.
I think it would the return on investment for everybody.
I mean, because we all know running this department, they're not getting cheaper. I mean, just the basic set of turnout gear is almost double the price, just to do that. And as we bring new members in, yeah.
Well, it can, but there's a way to do that. So like when you go to do a report, we don't have that yet, but when you go to do a report, it can pull, what's the name of that file, Brian? It's
You talking about our CAD reporting system?
well, it's where the CAD can dump all the reporting information into the RMS. It's some type of file. Can't remember the name of it around the top of my head. That's an IT thing.
Yeah.
But it can,
I
so
have
when you go
somebody
do
for that.
your report, all your time,
No, I am
numbers,
not.
CAD moves are there for you. It does it.
I can break
And it's just a one-stop shop, because sometimes you're gonna have auto accidents that have both fire resources and ambulance resources. It'd be kind of nice to have one system that meshes all of that, and we could see one big, beautiful report. So we'll mesh together ambulance calls.
They may have to do something, Brian, would be that help, that mesh that into it.
Well, just let Brian do all the data entry. He can take
It's,
a couple of months.
They do it, I mean, that's common practice to most places. You do get your CAD data, notes. It'll fill in all your times, your
Right.
response times on the report, which is nice because, as you said, everybody's a volunteer. The less time you can spend, everybody spends a lot of time anyway. You take 2 or 3 minutes less.
Well, I look at it this way, we're all volunteers, and, we have to not only run the books, we have to fight the fires, we have to raise funds to fight the fires, we have to keep maintenance on trucks and everything else. My aspect of this, more important than anything else, is I want to see, data points like that, because I think it bolsters the case not only to the public, hey, we're funding these fire departments, and, if I go through in a year like this and say, hey, I want 50 grand next year, which I want 50 grand next year. If we go to that point and say we want this is a justifiable way to say, hey, we can justify as a county, as a community, providing that to us. Financially speaking, I would like to, that way we can keep costs on what kind of an average, what kind of an average is it costing us to do each one of these fires? And we would then know what it's costing us to run each one of the departments. And knowing that the reporting requirement, as Brian has brought up, is only for structured fires, that we go through. Well, these auto accidents, we're running through a couple a week, and have been for this, especially when they're doing construction and can't figure out how to put a construction zone together, and then nobody wants to go less than 80 through a construction zone. So it's a recipe for a lot of accidents, but fortunately, they're right in front of the fire hall. I mean, they're easy to get to. But the thing of it is, all those aren't counting. They're not structure fires, but there's certainly activity where a volunteer fire member is being paged. He's got to drop what he's doing, get his vehicle, drive over there, get in the nifty truck with the flashing lights, and go out there to supervise an accident scene. So it's definitely volunteer work. I'd like to see that accounted for, because I think there's a lot of money out there that we could pursue, not only as a county to bolster the departments, but as individual departments as this comes along.
One of the nice things too, it does, it tracks, say a car accident, you go out on a car accident, and you perform education or traffic control, whatever it is. We have 5 or 6 people respond. So what this software does, not only tells you, well, we spent 1.6 hours on the call, but also in staff hours, where we had 5 people, it gives you those totals too, so at the end of the year, we can say, hey, we spent X number of thousand hours on calls this year. Or whatever. That kind of gives a better reporting picture of what a department actually does, but we're training. You know, tomorrow night we'll do 2 hours of training, but we'll have 20 people. So like this year, we've had just short of 600 hours of training this year, total.
It would also allow you to track individual firefighters or individual members and what kind of hours they put in as well. Just for, yes,
This is good.
all of that's needed for grants. I think it's a good idea. Tommy, I think you ought to add that to the ladder line item of emergency services. I don't think there's anything we need to vote on here with that.
We'll bring it up in this meeting.
I appreciate that.
I didn't, I told you.
I appreciate that because it is I think it's a good thing, and I don't know if we need to do any votes or anything on that. I think that can be handled through budget, but for the small amount of spend on that with the amount of return, I'm game for trying it for at least a year. Probably 2, just because it'll take us a year to kind of ramp up, and then the second year should be where we start getting the real results. But you're right, we have pump tests that we have and everything else. The one thing that I've noticed, across departments, and I know you guys are especially that way, and I know Cagle is the way now too, the amount of professionals that are coming involved in these again. The wind is at our back now. We're actually moving in the right direction, and I want to keep as much momentum in that direction as we possibly can. I can just tell you from what I observe at Cagle, we're light years better now than we were just 12 months ago. Because people are coming back into the fold and saying, hey, I want to get out here and work. And when the tones go off, there's actually people who respond, which is a nice thing. So we're moving in that direction. I think Brian's seeing some of the same things over at your department. We got, people coming involved, getting better equipment, moving in the right direction. Let's keep this up. I know we've all been searching for a way to get that to happen for a long
I
time.
don't care how new it is.
All right, anything else?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
All right, so moved and adjourned. Consider ourselves adjourned. I think the next meeting is at what, 5?